Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said in an interview Sunday on Iranian television the alliance between Syria, Russia, Iraq and Iran must succeed or else the whole region will be destroyed. That statement came as Russia intensified airstrikes across Syria in a move Moscow insists is aimed at fighting Islamic State. An estimated 240,000 people have died in Syria's civil war since 2011, and the United Nations estimates the refugee population at nearly 12 million people. We begin our coverage with CCTV's Lyubova. She joins us from Moscow. And Julia, how are officials in Moscow responding to these statements from Bashar al-Assad?
Well, official Moscow hasn't responded to the specific comments by Bashar al-Assad, but certainly this is likely to be welcomed and supported in Moscow because Russia is allied with the Syrian government. And since the start of the conflict, the Kremlin supported Bashar al-Assad. And, well, certainly Moscow, when Assad said that it's the Syrian people who should decide their own future, that is the view that Moscow has been supporting for a while. And Moscow says that there is no solution to the Syrian crisis apart from a political one, and that it should be the Syrian people who decide their future. And when it comes to its military operation in Syria, Moscow says that it launched its airstrikes in Syria at the request of the Syrian government. So certainly Moscow is likely to use Assad's comments as an argument for its operation in Syria.
Now, there's also been another development. Turkey is saying that Russia violated its airspace. In fact, Turkey scrambled two fighter jets on Saturday. There's also been a response from NATO as well. What are you hearing about that?
Well, that's right. Actually, on Monday, Moscow confirmed that this incident took place. He admitted that that happened. A Russian plane violated Turkey's airspace. On Saturday, Russian ambassador in Turkey was summoned to the Turkish authorities and was handed a diplomatic note of protest. And since then, Moscow said that this was due to a navigation error and said that that plane went back into the Syrian airspace as soon as was given a first warning. And Moscow tried to play down this situation by saying this would not happen again. And on Monday, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, he said that Moscow is looking into this incident. And when he was asked how this might affect relations between Russia and Turkey, he said that bilateral ties between the two countries are complex but solid. And so it looks like Moscow is going to try to play down this incident as much as it can.
Julia, almost immediately after the first wave of Russian strikes, the United States criticized Russia, saying that it was not just targeting Islamic State, it was also targeting forces that are opposed to Bashar al-Assad. Has Moscow responded to that criticism?
Well, that's right. There has been a lot of criticism to Russian airstrikes as to exactly which targets is it hitting. And Moscow, up until today, has been insisting that it has been targeting ISIL positions. But actually, on Monday, Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, he said that Russia's operation is aimed at supporting the Syrian army and targets terrorists and extremists. And on Monday, also, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, he spoke about this operation, and he said that Moscow is in contact with the US of its operation, that it's ready to hold a direct military contact in order to avoid any incidents between the actions of the two coalitions, the US-led coalition and this coalition that Moscow has created between itself, Syria, Russia and Iraq. And also Lavrov said on Monday that Moscow is prepared to hold a dialogue with the Syrian Free Army. And this is the group that the US supports, and this is the group that the US says that Russia is targeting in Syria. So Moscow is saying that it's prepared to talk with the US and with the Free Syrian Army on the ground as well.